So hello, my name's Nicole Canis. I'm here from Montechusett Home Care just to talk about caregiving and social isolation. So we know that there are some really negative health consequences with social isolation. So it has the same negative health outcomes as obesity and smoking. So it's really not good for anyone's health. So how does one become socially isolated? A lot of times older adults are more prone to this because they may be living alone. Their spouse, who they may have lived with, has died or passed away. A lot of their friends may no longer be in the community. Maybe due to health or disability, they're not able to get out as much. We also know maybe there's some hearing loss or visual impairment that makes it harder for older adults to feel comfortable going out of the home and into the community to do different things. We also know that caregivers are isolated. So about 40 to 70% of family caregivers report having feelings of depression, and those symptoms can include feelings of isolation and loneliness. So we know it's serious for family caregivers that they're having a hard time dealing with all of these feelings and emotions they're having along with their caregiving role. So they become isolated for a few different reasons. One may be that they have to care for that person 24/7. So they're not able to get out of the house. They can't leave them alone. They feel tied down. They tend to withdraw from their previous lifestyle and hobbies. They don't have time for them anymore. Maybe they're caring for someone with Alzheimer's or dementia and they're just not sure what kind of day that person's going to have. So they can't commit to dinner at 6 o'clock because maybe mom's just having a really bad day that day and it's not a good time to leave. So we can't make plans. Maybe old friends or even some family members that are involved in the care don't call or come over as often. Maybe they don't understand exactly all of the stress that the caregiver is going under, or they just don't know how to relate to that person anymore. And maybe the caregiver isn't reaching out to other caregivers to get that support, so they're feeling really all alone in this journey, and they're feeling like no one could possibly understand what they're going through. So this all leads to this isolation, this pulling back, this withdrawing from their community, which can be very, very negative. So we want caregivers and individuals to reach out and to do a little bit more for themselves. So for caregivers, the number one thing I always want caregivers to do is find a support group. So I know that a lot of caregivers are going to come back and say, but you just recognize that I am caring for someone 24/7, so maybe I can't get to an in-person support group. And that's understandable, and we know that. So in-person support groups are great, but you have to be able to leave your person maybe in the care of someone else, or they have to be able to be by themselves. And the other thing with in-person support groups, maybe they're too far for you. They're not at a good time. Maybe you just don't like the group. A lot of support groups come with group dynamics and you might not be a good fit, and that's okay. There are ways to get support online, to feel more connected with other caregivers by going online. A few ways to do that. One, if you're comfortable with Facebook, if that's somewhere where you tend to be, you can actually find caregiver support groups on Facebook. So what I mean by that is if you go onto Facebook and there's a search bar and you can search for groups, and you could just type in, maybe you're caring for someone with Alzheimer's or dementia. So you just type into that search bar, caring Alzheimer's caregiver. And all of these groups will pop up. And the benefit of that is that you're able to reach out to that support network 24/7. So some caregivers have told me how it's 2 a.m, it was a really bad night, my person was up all night, it was driving me crazy. And I just finally got them back to bed and I was able to go to my computer, log in, and just vent exactly how I was feeling. And that meant a lot to me. And what means even more is that almost instantly there are comments coming back. So that comment of, I've been there too, I know exactly how you're feeling, those feelings of validation that are really important when you're a caregiver are available to you online no matter the time. So there are Facebook groups. There are also things called forums. So a forum, so with Facebook, you need to have a profile. So right, you're identified by probably your name, a picture of yourself, maybe you have other friends. A forum, you probably just need usually an email or a username and your password. So it can be a little bit more anonymous, and some people like that a little bit more. So with the forum, you go online, same idea. You post comments or questions to these pages about caregiving. So a couple that I really like is one is called agingcare.com. So that's for individuals caring for anyone. There's a whole host of topics and discussions going on. Another one is the Alzheimer's Association, so alz.org. They have message boards and forums that are also available. I'm sure if you searched around too, you might be able to find some others. Some tips when looking for a forum, I would say check to see how active they are. So are a lot of people posting? And what was the most recent post? So if no one's posted in a month or so, might not be so active. So if you were to put something up, you would not probably get that kind of instant feedback. which is really, I think, important with forums. Also with forums or Facebook or any kind of online support or even in-person support group would be always recognize whose advice you're getting, right? So if we're gonna post a question with medical or legal advice, be cautious because you don't know who's answering those questions for you. So with anything medical, legal, anything of that, I'd go to a professional to kind of get some opinions. But for example, if you went on there because you're having a hard time having the person give up the keys to driving, it might be good to get some ideas because there are different tactics that might work and people have tried them. And maybe they tried it, that doesn't work for you, but maybe someone else has another idea and that one's gonna work. Or maybe your person's resistant to in-home care. Well, people might have some tips on how they got their person to accept care. So just some ideas there. The last one, blogs. So what a blog is think of it as an online diary. So that is just someone telling their story and they're just living it out, and it's a really great kind of emotional healing and journey for people to kind of write when they're going through something, so to write about their experience. So that's what blogs can do for individuals. But for you, if you're reading, it's really great to read someone's story and go, well, I'm not the only one that felt that way. You know, I was going through that yesterday and it just feels so good to know someone else was feeling the same way that I was. So those are great online supports. The next thing, other than other caregiver support, that I think is really important for caregivers to look into is respite care. So when I say respite, what I mean is a short-term break from caregiving. So respite is either having in-home support come in, or some people might do respite stays within a facility. But it's vital for caregivers to take some time for themselves. You need to get time away. You need to engage in those hobbies and activities that you were doing before you were a caregiver, because you cannot be a great caregiver if you're not recharging and taking care of yourself. So you need to look for respite care options. And respite's great for you to recharge, and also think of respite as great for your person you're caring for, because they're meeting someone new for the day. They're in a new environment. If they're doing a respite stay in a facility while you're out of town, they're surrounded by people all day. So those can be great for them as well. And also, when you have respite care, it allows you to focus back in on that relationship you have with the person. So sometimes as a caregiver, we're so caught up in the daily activities that we have to perform. I need to get him up, showered, dressed, fed, and I'm just gonna go through my motions and get everything done. And I don't think about that relationship that I have with my father and being his daughter. I'm more focused on, I have a to-do list to do, and that's what we have to do today.
Where do you go for respite care? Is it Massachusetts?
So yeah, I'm going to get to that, but we can talk about it now. So we could talk. So respite care. So there's a few ways. So there's the caregiver program, which is what I do at Massachusetts Home Care. I have a scholarship that's available, so that people can pay. I can help assist to pay with some respite care. So that would be in-home services. That could be a stay. With the caregiver program, it can be you have a neighbor who's really great with your person, and I want them to come in because I'm leaving for a weekend and I need someone to take care of them. The other thing with Massachusetts Home Care is to look at ongoing services. So in the long term, so the same benefits of that respite, which is short term, but to look at long-term services. So Massachusetts Home Care is absolutely a place to go for that. So we are a local nonprofit. We cover 21 communities in this northern kind of Worcester County area. And what we're able to do is offer in-home services at, I would say, like a subsidized rate. So depending on an individual's income, the rate that you pay for care is on a sliding scale. No one is ever over income for our services. We have an over income category where you pay a percentage of your care plan. Even if you're at 100%, there are some benefits of utilizing services through us. That would be case management. So that's scheduling, that finding a schedule, working with the vendor agencies that's really difficult. Your case manager is going to be doing that. You have a case manager that's kind of monitoring the person's needs. You also, if you private pay for in-home services, they're probably costing $28 to $30 an hour. They're expensive. And a private agency may say, great, we'll come out to your house for a minimum of 3 hours. And you're saying, but I just want an hour in the morning. Like I just need that I just need an hour in the evening. I don't need 3 hours. I don't know what you do for that amount of time. And you don't want to pay for 3 hours because it's pricey. Through our care plans, we're able to offer those lower increments of time, which is also helpful. So think of us as an umbrella organization. So we contract with vendor agencies that provide the in-home care. We staff case managers, social workers, nurses for assessment purposes.
Do you have any services for someone who has dementia problems but isn't that far yet? I mean, can they go somewhere to have their services?
So there are great programs called adult day health centers that can be really great for someone who has a dementia diagnosis. So what an adult day health center offers is a supportive day. So the person maybe goes there at maybe 9 o'clock in the morning, stays until maybe 3. They're there for the day in a supportive, safe environment where there is nursing staff there available to administer any medications that need to be done. There's a hot lunch, there's entertainment, engagement all throughout the day. So I say to anyone who's kind of looking for the best bang for your buck and a person can't be left home safely anymore, to really consider adult day health centers, because they're a great resource for caregivers. Because that full day of care is going to be a lot less money through an adult day health center than if you private paid for someone to come sit at your house. And it's engaging that individual. So when I talk about social isolation for the caregiver, the individual can also become isolated. So what we want to do with them is engage them. Even when they have dementia, individual dementia still needs to feel fulfilled and engaged throughout their day. So adult day health centers offer that. So it's like a senior center, right, with activities and everything going on, but a lot more support for that person that maybe needs cueing about eating. Maybe we're not sure if they're going to exit seek throughout the day. So they need a little bit more structure and security in their day, and that's what an adult day health center can offer.
If the person being cared for resists it, can the caregiver go at first?
With them?
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of the adult day health centers are great and they understand, and they'd be more, I'm sure.
At first, until they get to know someone.
Until they understand what it is. Yeah, and adult day health centers too are really great. If you work with the staff there to explain maybe what's going on with the person, they've kind of seen it all. So they're going to work with you, the caregiver, to make sure that they're able to get the person to agree to services in the best way possible. So some may even work with, some individuals might need maybe a little bit of, persuasion to go. So maybe it's not that you're going because, I can't do this today and you need to be in a safe place, but maybe you're going to help volunteer at this really great place and they need your help serving lunch today, and could you go and try it out for the day? So the adult day, they'll work with you. The staff there, all of the centers in this area are fantastic. I don't know one that isn't great. They're all great. I would go and tour them, check them out. They all offer things a little bit differently. I mean, you go into one and the next one you'll go to is completely different. So there's like Living Well in West Boylston, Cooperative Elder Services in Groton, Manor on the Hill in Leominster, and then GVNA has 2 sites in Fitchburg and then in Gardner. And then there's Active Life Adult Day in Fitchburg. So those are all great resources for people to look into. And like I said, everyone's a little different, so just kind of go and feel it out, which one you think would make the most sense for you and the person you're caring for. But I love adult day health centers. The other thing with caregivers and social isolation is to use technology too to stay connected with your friends and family. So like I said before with Facebook, that's a great way to stay connected maybe. Also looking into things like FaceTime and video chat to connect maybe sometimes with family or friends that maybe you can't get out of the house today, but you want to see what the grandkids are up to, or the great grandkids, or your niece or your nephew. And taking advantage of some of these technologies that we use to kind of stay involved in everyone's lives, even when we can't be there for events. I know I've talked to a few caregivers who have FaceTimed into weddings. They've had the individual, maybe they couldn't go, so they just FaceTimed in and they could see the couple on the happy day. They could kind of feel a part of it, still sad they couldn't be there. But still with modern technology, we're able to kind of have some little piece of that, which is great. I know we talked a lot about services. The other thing I want to talk about for services for the individual is to also consider Meals on Wheels and congregate dining sites. So like the meal site here is a great opportunity for people to come and have lunch. I mean, it's amazing. And you get out of the house, you have a great hot meal that meets 1/3 of your daily nutritional requirements here for, what is the suggested donation, $3?
$3 for the congregate meal and $4 for the home cooked meal.
Okay.
On Wednesdays it's $5.
Okay.
Hot meal. On Fridays it's soup and sandwich.
That's great. So really,
I thought, is it just Wednesdays or
No, they do it on Fridays too.
Fridays also?
yeah. So it's a great deal to come out and get lunch for a relatively low price and to be with other people. If the person can't get out of the house, Meals on Wheels offers that hot meal delivered to the home, but it also offers that contact throughout the day. So if someone's living alone and they're not kind of seeing anyone all day, a Meals on Wheel deliverer, right, the driver, will drop the meal off and have eyes on the person every single day, which is really great if you can't be with the person. But it also offers, at least you know that person's talking to someone every day, right, if they're able to have meals delivered daily. So I always suggest, and if the person is resistant to care, Meals on Wheels is a great kind of foot in the door to services. So we can start slowly with Meals on Wheels and then maybe say, what about having someone come in and help you with your housework or your laundry, things like that. The other great thing, if you're caring for someone with memory loss, there are memory cafes in the area. So what this is oftentimes people who are caring for someone with dementia just say, I can't go out with the person, right? I'm nervous about what behavior they're gonna have. They could say something embarrassing. It's just too much. I never know if it's gonna be the right environment. How am I gonna go about this? So memory cafes are a supportive environment that you can go to, and they are all people with memory issues and their caregivers there together to enjoy some sort of activity or entertainment together. So the idea is that you and your person can connect and have that relationship and do something fun together. So again, we often are kind of stuck in this, when you're the caregiver, you're just constantly focused on the care you have to give. So it's nice to be able to go out to an activity together and have a good time. So local memory cafes include, there is one in Worcester at the Worcester Senior Center, the third Tuesday of the month. There's one in Lunenburg, the last Friday of the month at 10 a.m. Leominster, the Twin City Memory Cafe typically meets at the Leominster Senior Center on the first Wednesday of the month at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So memory cafes are a really fantastic way to kind of, again, reach out to other caregivers and other individuals in your situation and to just have a good time for a couple of hours. There's refreshments, there's always some fun thing happening. And it's really great to see the person kind of light up when they're doing a fun activity. And the memory cafes are going to structure their activities so that the person with the memory loss is successful. So it's going to be an activity that's appropriate for them to engage in, which is also always good. Go ahead.
They also have the purple table.
Yes.
If you want to speak about that.
So purple tables are a new movement that are coming where restaurants will designate a table in the restaurant that is just where staff, the location of the table, everything is thought out so an individual with memory impairment can go and have a successful dinner out. So maybe, the table's in maybe a more secluded area of the restaurant so it's not as noisy. The menu may be different. Maybe it's pared down so it's not as overwhelming for the person. The staff is going to be aware that the person at that table is going to have a memory issue, so they're trained to be a little bit more sensitive, things like that. The other thing too is you can find these great cards that actually have on it that say please be patient. The person at my companion has memory loss, and those can be great to give out when you're out in public to people too, just so, because sometimes that kind of embarrassment or fear of embarrassment when you're taking maybe your person out who has a memory issue can be a lot. And you're kind of going, because a lot of times, right, with dementia, the person may lose their ability to kind of filter out some of those comments. So they can look at a person and be like, that is a hideous top. Right? And we kind of are like, oh, what are they? Why would you say that? And we get so embarrassed, and then we don't want to go out anymore. It's just too much. I don't want to deal with it. I'm done. But if we maybe have that card to just kind of, kind of on the sly, give it to a person to explain, I am sorry, this is part of a disease. This is not the person just being rude. It can help ease some of those fears and hesitations to going out. So yeah. And the other thing too that technology can do for caregivers is you can actually get wireless cameras to install in your home that you can have access to. If the home has wireless and you have a smartphone, you could have access to that internet feed of the camera while you're out of the house. So that can help caregivers slip out for a little bit of time. Again, it really consider the safety of the individual and the stage they're at. If it's a memory loss issue, it shouldn't be in replace of care. But there have been some families where maybe it allowed the caregiver to get out for a half hour. I had one caregiver who we were able to get cameras set up, and she loved to garden. That was her kind of piece. And she was caring for her mom and wasn't able to leave her mom even inside while she was outside. She was too afraid. So the cameras allowed her that opportunity to be just outside in the garden. She could look at mom while she was there, and she knew mom was okay, and she could have her moment, her kind of respite, right? To do what she loved to do. So those are always great too. And the other piece I wanted to bring up, my props, they're not just here for fun. These are actually what we call comfort companions. So for someone who maybe is living alone, they're isolated, maybe they have a memory issue, they need something that's comforting, but a real pet may not be appropriate for a lot of different reasons. They have to be fed, walked, cared for. They can get expensive. These are really great. So I'll turn them on just so you can see what they look like when they're working. So there's a cat, and she meows, right? Meow. Yeah, there she is. And they respond to kind of touch, and the more you pet them and play with them, the more they'll do. The cat will start purring. So if it's on your lap, it'll vibrate, which is really great. You can, I don't know if you can hear her. And then the dog, he barks and wags his little tail. So these are really great for people, you know, who maybe just need a little bit of extra comfort. It can help reduce some agitation, just something, a companion to have that's always there. These have been really great. You can put they get really active the more you talk. But I can put them on mute and they can still react while we're chatting the rest of the time. The other thing that I have here is a baby doll. So for some people with a memory issue, especially women who may have been home with kids, dolls are great comfort. So this is actually it's not a real baby, although people often think I have a real baby with me. So it looks very lifelike, and when you turn her on, her chest moves up and down so that you feel her breathing. And I can pass her around so you can make sure she's on. Yeah, so here, I'll have you, if you want to feel it. But it's the weight.
She's heavy.
Yeah, she's heavier than expected. And just having that comfort for some people is really worthwhile too. So with the technology piece, I have a grant right now where I can help people pay for for things like this if they're caring for someone with dementia. And like I said, I can help with the scholarship for respite care. And also for ongoing services for someone if they're interested to really, I would say all caregivers should, you know, look into having ongoing care for that person so that they can have a few hours to get out of the house. Our main number, I can hold this up so people can see, but our main number is 978-537-7411. So I would just call and see kind of what services we may be able to offer. And as always, I would check out the Clinton Senior Center for anyone who is still able to get out of the house and come down and just engage in activities and see people. You know, lunch is a great place to start. And then I think if you come down for a meal, you're bound to find some other activity that you're gonna wanna do because there's always stuff going on. Oh, absolutely. 978-537-7411. So yeah, are there any other questions?
Does, let's say that you would set a price for according to what patient can afford. Does Medicare kick in too, or?
So unfortunately, Medicare will not pay for any ongoing in-home services. So Medicare is really just short-term. So you may be able to have a doctor prescribe what are called like VNA services. So those are short-term after maybe a hospitalization or a discharge home or some kind of acute health issue. So you might have some in-home home health aides, OT, PT come into the home. So Medicare will pay for that. They won't pay for anything ongoing. So even your private insurance, if you have Tufts, if you have Fallon, they're not gonna pick up Blue Cross. They're not gonna pick up ongoing long-term services. So that's why I suggest that people start with us. A good place to start if you don't have any services in the home right now would be to call us and ask about options counseling. So options counselors can come to the home to meet with you, the person you're caring for, anyone else that wants to be involved, and they'll just talk about the options that are available in the community for long-term ongoing services. So they'll talk about in-home, homemaking, personal care services, adult day health, even if you're interested to hear maybe, you know, what is assisted living? What does that look like? Or what is a rest home? I've heard about those. They can kind of cover it all and let you know about everything that's out there. And it's a completely free service. So I mean, they're just out there to give you information, not to sign you up. You don't have to be ready for services tomorrow. It could be something where you get the information, you hold on to it and think about it for a few months. Yeah. Anyone else?
This is the most beautiful dog.
I know, the baby is a hit.
Oh my God, she's beautiful.
Yeah.
And we do provide lunch 5 days a week here.
There you go.
And all people have to do is sign up ahead of time, so they know how much food to order.
Right. So is it a day, 2 days,
It's best if they could call a few days ahead.
a few days? Yeah.
Sometimes they order for the following week, the week before. So,
Okay.
that's usually what happens.
Okay.
2 days ahead for lunch?
Yes.
One day it was bad. Sometimes it's hard to tell.
It is
one day-
hard. It is. It's hard. And that's part of, why caregivers have a hard time getting out, because you just never know what the day is going to bring.
They have the menu in the senior bulletin, right?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
They have the menu that we actually make here is in the senior bit.
Right,
It's,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Um,